Okay, today we are going to see about ancient Egypt. So, this ancient Egypt, in the sense, the first settlement, it was about 5000 BC. That is during the nomadic period. Okay, Egyptian civilization developed on the banks of river Nile. Okay, and otherwise it is called as gift of Nile. Egypt is otherwise called as the gift of Nile, and it lays near by the Mediterranean Sea. It's an African country. So, located in the northeast corner of Africa. It is located in the northeast corner of Africa and surrounded by natural barriers, that is deserts, mountains, and Mediterranean Sea. So, these are covered by desert, mountains, and Mediterranean Sea. So, it provides protection for the country. And you all know that Egypt is in an African country. Egypt is an African country. So Africa is a continent. Okay, and see in this map, you can see this is a map of Africa. So here lot of states are there. See, Western Sahara Desert lies in the African continent. So Mauritania, then Mali, then Morocco, then Algeria, then Niger, Libya, Tunisia, Chad, then Sudan, Ethiopia, and also lies Egypt. And along with the Egypt, the adjacent to the Egypt, it lies the Red Sea. See here, blue color, that is greenish blue, locates the sea. Okay, so here it is Red Sea, and here it is Mediterranean Sea, and here it is Western Sahara. So here lies the largest desert is Sahara. Okay, and so there's green color is Nile. Okay, so the Egypt is called as the gift of Nile because Egypt is fully flourished by Nile. The river Nile always overflows, and because of that overflowing, the country Egypt is fertile, made fertile. Okay, because of this Nile. Okay, and see lower to Egypt, we can find Heliopolis, then Giza, then Saqqara. So these things, see. Then nearby it is Jerusalem, then Dead Sea is there, then Sinai. So these are the places where we can find. So it is divided into 3 kingdoms, that is Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom. And see, for this place, Palestine, see, this Palestine only, these people are quarreling. Okay, this Jews as well as this Muslims, they quarrel for this Palestine, that is Jerusalem. Okay, now you got an idea. Okay, so we'll see the next one. So when we see about the river Nile, it is flooded every year. Okay, it is flooded every year. So it provides fertile soil for crops. When the silt, what do you mean by silt? Silt is nothing but, have you gone to seashore? So you can see that if you are walking in the soil, seashore soil, you can see blackish sand, okay, blackish, then it will be glazing, okay. And this silt, okay, silt is nothing but it contains lot of minerals, okay. So you will feel like your leg is shining in black color, okay. That is called as silt. So it is a running water, right? Nile is a running water with much force. So these silt, along with the running water, the silt is taken away by from some other upper area, okay. So it comes from an area of many types of lands, right? So these silts, this vitamins, minerals, everything, it will be deposited along the banks of Nile, okay. So these banks becomes fertile, so it will be flooding all through the year, okay. And during when it overflows or the climatic changes differs, it floods every year. It floods every year. So these silts make the fertile soil. It deposits the fertile soil on the banks of Nile. So these silts were used. It was very fertile, so that the people, that is the farmers, they cultivate along the banks of river Nile. So normally the civilizations, they ended up their nomadic life and settled on the banks of rivers, right? So these rivers were very much fertile because of the running water and the deposition of silts. So this was utilized by the farmers. So it was the lifeline of Egypt. So the flooded silt or the river Nile was the lifeline for Egypt. So this Nile was also used for transportation. Okay, and used for they were used. This water was carried out by nearby places. So it will be very easy for them to carry the water for irrigation. And this river Nile flows from south to north. It flows from south to north. And the mouth is called as the delta. So the river Nile's, the mouth is called as the delta, which is very fertile land. And the most uses of the Nile, the important uses of the river Nile are, they were used for drinking and bathing. So they were used for the purpose of drinking and bathing, and also it was used as for agriculture as well as for transportation. The Egyptians has 3 seasons that is based on the river, that is inundation. What is meant by inundation? So maybe it is like the time period of rising flooding water. So it will be like maybe we can say like maybe rain or something. It's an African country, so it floods like near during June to October, and that was the time of rising flooded waters, and farmers have time to build pyramids and other projects. So other time they used to build pyramids and other projects. And next time is the emergence, that is November to February, and the return of the water to the river, and during that time they planted crops and trapped water for irrigation. So they are like they made some bunks or something else to store the water, and that was used for irrigation purpose. And you all know that it is a drought, that is the African country, deserted country. And during March till June, there were it was harvest time, so it was a drought season too. So it was like a harvest season, that is picking out the crops, that is harvesting the crops. Okay, the next one is about food. So the irrigation system watered crops. So the irrigation system, they irrigated from the river Nile. And the main crops were barley, wheat and flax. And the main food was bread. So these wheat was made, wheat and barley, they were grounded and used for making bread. Then fishes, they were taken from river Nile. They caught fishes from the river Nile, and they cultivated vegetables and fruits too. Only the wealthy could eat meat. Okay, so the meat was eaten by only the wealthy people. So the others used fishes from the river Nile. Okay. And regarding the clothing, you all know that it is a deserted place and it's very hotty area. And they used Egyptians. Egypt's weather is very warm in the sense very hot. And people wore linen robes. So they used free-sized robes. And women wore makeup and jewelry. So these Egyptians are said to be the very beautiful people. And they used, in those days itself, they used makeup and jewelry. And Cleopatra is said to be the most beautiful women in the world, right? Okay. And she also belongs to Ethiopian country, that is African country. And people shaved their heads and wore wigs for special occasions. Since it is very heat, they used wigs. And let us see about Egyptian social pyramid. Okay, when we see this Egyptian social pyramid, so first class, that is rulers, that is called as Pharaoh. And the second class is the high priests or noble people. That is, they were clergy men. And so this high priest in the sense very much adored. Okay, after this King Pharaoh, these people's high priests were noblemen were very much respected. And the third category is priests, doctors, then engineers who built these things. That is pyramids, then tomb, everything. Okay, Sphinx of Giza, everything was done by these engineers. And the fourth category, it comes as scribes. And the fifth one is craftsmen. Then the lowest, they are called as soldiers, farmers, and tomb builders. So these the instructors were the third category, and the construction, those people who were involved in construction were considered as the last category. And mostly the last category, in the sense they were called as slaves also. So slavery was practiced of the person owning other person. So what is meant by slavery? So in olden days it was done, the human slaves were there. So they will sell the slaves as this cattle or animals. Okay, and slavery was the lowest level in the ancient Egyptian society. Slaves came from the conquered lands and did the hardest work. So in those days, wars were there. So if one country is doing war against the other country, so the captives, the people who were taken from one country to another, they were made as slaves. They were used for mining gold, then planting, that is for irrigation, planted crops, then for digging canals, and for working as house servants. Okay. And regarding their architecture, that is making the town planning, so it was like the homes were made of mud bricks. And for some people, important people, they live in better houses. Only the wealthy had bathrooms. They used, they used open toilets. And only the wealthy people, they had bathrooms to bath. Okay. And regarding this language, Egyptians developed a form of pictoric symbol. Okay, pictoric representation. This pictoric symbols were called as hieroglyphics. What is that? Hieroglyphics. So these developed into a language in order to keep the track of government records. And it was used for laws, then taxes, and passage of time. Okay. And the Egyptian alphabet, so this is called as what? This is called as hieroglyphics. So see, they have each picture have some meanings. Okay. And this Egyptian alphabet was made up of about 800 pictoric symbols. So that is called as pictoric symbols are called as hieroglyphics. What is that? Hieroglyphics. The word hieroglyphics means sacred writing. What is the meaning of hieroglyphics? It is the sacred writing. And had scribes like the Mesopotamians. So they have scribes, that is scripts. So in previous classes we learned that Mesopotamians also had some scripts, right? So likewise, so this was also a pictoric symbol and it is called as the hieroglyphics. And the language they used, it was writing was continued. So how did they write? So they made with that is clays. They made a clay to wet, and they used papyrus. They used a plant called papyrus, which was grown nearby the river Nile. And the writing, so that is they made, we used pencil to sharpen, right? So likewise they made that papyrus reel stalk, and they made sharpen, and they did this pictoric works. Writing carved in wood or stone. So later they printed with ink on papyrus. So later on they used this papyrus to be painted with ink. So what is meant by papyrus? The Egyptians wrote on papyrus, which was the earliest form of paper. So papyrus was, see here the picture. So this is leaf, right? So this is papyrus. So this stalk is made, see, and this is, we will say it is like we have Pamira, right? Olachuvadi. So likewise they used these papyrus for making Olachuvadi, and they used to write in that with ink. Okay, see, it is made up of the reef is made up of, see, made of paper. It is made into paper, right? So in these they used to write, and also they used these wet clay. Okay, so the reeds would be crisscrossed and pounded down to a paper like thickness. So these reeds, so they were it was made like a crisscross, and it was pounded down to a paper like thickness, and they wrote in this. So these papyrus reeds were grew on the banks of river Nile. So here it is given one stone, right? So this is called as Rosetta Stone. This is called as Rosetta Stone. So this is Rosetta Stone is like a black rock carved in 3 languages. So what are they? So in that they used hieroglyphics to see the language. In it was the messages was seen was depicted on the Rosetta Stone were in 3 languages. What were they? First was in hieroglyphics language, and then second one is in Aramaic language, and third one was in Greek. So in 1822, Jean-Francois Champollion finally broke the code. So it was decoded. So this languages was decoded. Okay. And let us see about the rulers, that is pharaohs. Spell with me, pharaohs. Okay, so they were the king. We have we had kings, right? So likewise, this is pharaohs. The king or ruler of Egypt was called as the pharaoh. The pharaoh was seen as God. So they were given high position, and they were called as the worshipped as the God. So everyone worked for the pharaoh. When he died, the pharaoh was mummified. What do you mean by mummified? So actually we used to do postmortem, right? To check if a person has died in some other cases, not normal death. We used to do that is the officials used to do postmortem, right? So in postmortem, what they will do? They will take off. They will make. Tear the body and check so how the death happened. Likewise, they will tear the body and take out all the inner parts. Okay, inner parts. Then they will embed means they will fill with medications, that is the things which will not get decay, so it will freeze. Okay, like embalming, it is called as embalming. So can you say someone who was embalmed? So our former chief minister Jayalalitha also was embalmed. Okay, and so that was called as embalming, and it is said to be mummified. What is meant by mummification? So mummification is nothing but the making of the dead body with preserved herbs. Okay, medicinal herbs. And so it was these mummies were buried in big tombs, that is called as this pyramids. Okay, these mummies were buried. The king's body was mummified, and it was kept in the pyramid. Okay, the tomb was kept inside, and the pyramid was built over that. And like all civilization, Egyptians had the needs for laws. So in every country, that is what was before as well as now, we all have laws. Without laws, the country cannot, the people, country cannot give a good rule. Okay, so there should be some laws. So for that, the Egyptians also had needs for laws. The Pharaoh was the supreme judge of what was right and wrong under the law. Okay, so the Pharaoh was the supreme judge, and Pharaoh rules as gods. So the pharaohs were in charge of what and all? Economy, then government, then religion. So this Pharaoh collected a portion of crops for taxes. Okay, trade was the way in which Egyptians were paid for the services. And in government, Pharaoh appointed powerful local leaders called governors, and then these governors collected taxes and served as judges. So if they had any disputes or any problems between two, these governors, they collected taxes as well as they acted as judges. Okay, and made sure that local floodwaters were shared equally. So when some people, so nowadays in villages, we can see like the Mullaperiyar, that is Kerala, they have Mullaperiyar Dam, right? So it is the reservoir is in Kerala, and it is benefited by Tamil Nadu, but both states are quarreling, right? And often Karnataka also. Okay, they are trying to build a dam over Megadha, that is Bhavani Sagar. So Bhavani river. So Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they have disputes. Likewise, these governors were appointed not to get disputes. If they had any disputes in the distribution of water, these governors were in charge of solving those disputes. And regarding this religion, they believed in after death. Okay, so that is the main reason where they are mummifying the bodies of kings. They believed that the Pharaoh was the child of Ra, the sun god, and that Pharaoh gave life to Egypt and its people, and they were worshipped as Pharaoh, that is God. Okay, and already we told that they were considered as gods. Why is it so? So it is because the Pharaoh was the child of, they believed that Pharaoh was the child of Ra, that is the sun god. So definitely the sun god's child. So they will be like a god, right? Okay. So that is the reason for worshipping the pharaohs. And the Pharaoh caused sun to rise. And they believed like the Pharaoh was a person to rise the sun. And Nile to flood and crops to grow. And you have heard of like King Menes, isn't it? So he was the main king who united Upper Egypt as well as Lower Egypt. And King Tutankhamun, so he was the most famous king among the pharaohs. So much of that we know today is due to the discovery of his elaborated tomb. Okay, so King Tutankhamun, the excavation. So actually, the excavation of the tomb of King Tutankhamun was gave a lot of things about mummies and pyramids. And he was a small boy, pharaoh actually. So he died in his very early age. The King Tutankhamun was 9 years old when he was chosen to replace Akhenaten. So Akhenaten was replaced by King Tutankhamun, and when he was 9 years old. The priest of Egypt controlled King Tutankhamun, who died when he was only 19 years old. As you all know, a 9 years old child cannot rule the country. Okay, he doesn't know the rules and regulations of the country. So, making him as the king or pharaoh, the priest, high priest, ruled the country. And his tomb, and he died at the age of 19. Okay, and his tomb was discovered in 1922. In 19th centuries, they discovered the or excavated the tomb. The tomb contained everything Tutankhamun would need in the afterlife. So, as I told before, they believed in rebirth, that is, after life of death. Okay, there was a life, they believed, like there was a life after death. So they they settled all the things in the tomb itself, because they believed that the Tutankhamun will rise, and he will be in need of all the things which was used after the death. So after death, they will rise again, and then they will live a life. So the things which were kept in the tomb were needed, were very essential things. And we know about the Egyptian belief in the afterlife mainly through the discoveries and made by archaeologists like Carter. So the Carter archaeologists, when they dug the Tutankhamun tomb, they could find all these things, and like riches and food and other worldly provisions told us that ancient Egyptians expected their dead to need these in their afterlife or next life. Okay, and this is about Menes. So Menes, Upper Egypt army invades and conquers Lower Egypt. So this is called as double crown. Okay, see, a double crown is there, as well as white crown is also there. An important pharaoh, King Menes, he was very famous to reunite Upper Egypt as well as Lower Egypt. See the picture. See, Lower Egypt. You all know that Cairo is the capital of Egypt, right? Okay, so above that we can see that Rosetta. So from there they found that Rosetta Stone, and here it is Giza also nowadays a famous place because it is called as the Sphinx is located in Giza, and the other place is Heracleopolis, and Memphis, then Danshur, Saqqara. Okay, Ankit, and then it is in Upper Egypt. Then Abydos, Laksha, Thebes, then Hirakon, then okay. So these Egypt lies near Mediterranean Sea as well as Dead Sea. Okay. And let us see some Egyptian famous pharaohs. Then first one is Thutmose III. So he lived between 1504 till 1450 BC. You all know that in BC it goes backwards. Okay, and Hatshepsut also, she was a female pharaoh. She expanded trade further than any other pharaoh. She was very much influenced pharaoh. Okay, she pharaoh. And Ramses II. So it was 1279 BC till 1212 BC. Okay. And the Pharaoh Khufu, he was the person who made great pyramids in Giza. So these were the some famous Egyptian pharaohs. Who were there? Thutmose III, then Hatshepsut, then Ramses II, and Khufu. Okay. Then regarding this religion, the Egyptians believed in many gods. So that is called, believing in many gods are called as polytheistic. Okay, polytheistic. And Egyptians prayed to different gods which controlled different things. So they had, they have Ammon, then Anubis, then Isis, then Osiris, then Horus, then Set, then Sobek, then Ra. Ra was the sun god. They built temples and shrines to honor their gods. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife, as we told earlier. Most of their gods were part human, part animal. So their gods were part human and part animals. Okay, and listen here, Anubis, then Horus is called as the god of sky, and Osiris is called as the god of death and the underworld. And obviously Ra is the sun god. Okay. Then the doctors are doing mummification, isn't it? So they are embalming the body. Egyptians believe that when people die, they move on to the another world. So since they needed their body in the afterlife, they are being preserved. This process of mummification was developed because of their beliefs. Okay. The process of mummification. So first they would remove all the organs, as I told earlier. These would go into canopic jars. So they will these body will be taken into the canopic jars. They would take the brain out through the nose. They will take the brain out through the nose. They pack the body with natron. What is meant by natron? It is a salt mixture. You all know that salt is a preservative, right? They would remove all the moisture. So they will make the body dry. After several weeks, they would apply oil, then wrap the body in bandages and place the body in a sarcophagus. So they put a decorated mask on the body. So actually it was they used a lot of herbs. The body would be put in the chamber with all the things needed for the afterlife, that is food, riches, etc. Okay, whatever they use, they will put inside for the later use. And contribution. What are the contributions of Egypt? So first one was language. Language was like hieroglyphics. And architecture. Architecture in the sense pyramids. Pyramids, then Sphinx of Giza. Then they invented 365-day calendar. Then papyrus. Papyrus was promoted like paper. Then irrigation systems, then mathematics, then weapons, then chariots. Pharaohs used chariots. And in medicine, for mummification and all, they used surgery. Then medical discoveries, that is magic was heavily used. Okay. And they developed surgery. Then Greeks and Romans based much of their medical knowledge on that of the Egyptians. That is these Greeks as well as this Romans, they used most of the medical knowledge of the Egyptians. art in the sense statues were made, paintings were done, and jewelry were also made, because they were very much attracted to the jewelry, makeups. Okay. And see this is the Egyptian pyramid. So see, air shaft, see, grand gallery, horizontal passage, entrance, descending passage. So it was like, see, G1, G2. So it was king's chamber with relieving chambers above. So like queen's chamber. It was Egyptian pyramid was like a small, that is a courtyard, right? So everything was given. So it was like almost a palace with courtyards, then women, queen's chamber, and the resting place, everything. Whatever they want, they made. They constructed pyramid likewise. So see, this is pyramid. So it has an entrance and all. So this is called as Great Pyramid and Sphinx of Giza. So inside there will be passages like this, so that they can move from place to place inside that. So let us compare the lives in Mesopotamia and Egypt. So regarding this geography, so Fertile Crescent, as well as that is Mesopotamia was in Southwest Asia, and this Egypt, this is in African continent. Rivers which flourished was Tigris and Euphrates, and in Egypt it was Nile. So what were the natural barriers? Flat plains. No, not much deserted area or mountainous or hilly areas, but it was flat plains. And in Egypt it was deserted and it was covered by seas and cataracts. And that is then religion. So it both were believing in several gods, that is polytheistic. Then regarding the government, in Mesopotamia it was city-states, then theocracy, that is large bureaucracy. Kings ruled. Okay. Here it is rural villages. It was divided into rural villages, then dynasties, then divine kings ruled. Then the social structure, it was like after nobles, commoners and slaves. There were three categories. Here it is upper classes, merchants, artisans and peasants. Peasants in the sense they were slaves, common people. Okay. And regarding this economy, farming and trade flourished. Here also farming and trade flourished. So that was the main income for the king to maintain the kingdom. Okay. Written language was cuneiform in Mesopotamia, and here it was hieroglyphics. Okay. So by briefly explaining, so ancient Egyptian time, first the Egyptians developed a lunar calendar of 354 days. In this time, the Egyptians created a more accurate 360-day solar calendar. So they developed lunar calendar as well as solar calendar. And they made this BC means before Christ, and made it as a before common era. And AD means Anno Domini, the year of our Lord, also can be shown as common era. And both of these terms were adopted during the early formation of the Roman Christian calendar. And this BC counts backward, okay, kind of like a negative number, and until it gets to year 0, and we are in the that is the then we are in the AD time, that is, it is going up. So it is a Anno Domini, AD, this and this. Okay. Before the previous things, it was said as BC 14500. Okay. Likewise, it was decreasing and AD was increasing. And let us see the timeline. Okay. Archaic era, that is 6000 BC. So what was that? Egypt was a grassland. So nomads traveled in search of food. So that is in 6000 BC. So what about the early dynastic? That is dynasties from 3200 BC to 2780 BC. So in these time, King Menes united Upper and Lower Egypt. Okay, so he established the capital of Memphis. And regarding this old kingdom, 2780 BC and 2258 BC, it was the age of pyramids. First man made mummies. So the Middle Kingdom was like in 2134 BC till 1786 BC. So this was the time of middle class. Then trade becomes the center of the economy. When New Kingdom, that is 1570 BC and 1085 BC, major trading expeditions, that is Akhenaten and Queen Hatshepsut, they ruled in those period. And Ptolemaic dynasty. So later on, that is during this Cleopatra Patrick time, is called as Ptolemaic dynasty. That is 304 BC to 30 BC. So Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. Okay, Cleopatra is the last pharaoh. So after this Cleopatra, there was no pharaoh system. Okay. And the Roman, because it was conquered by Romans. Then Roman period. After that, pharaoh system was stopped and Egypt was conquered by Romans. And Roman took under the control of Egypt. Egypt never had a chance to rise. Okay, after that. And let us see the other symbols of Egypt. So King Tutankhamun was shown like this. Then Queen Hatshepsut, okay, and scarab beetle. Then amulets. Then the Sphinx of Giza and Karchot and eyes of Horus. So these were the some symbols widely used in the Egypt. Okay, so next to what river did Egypt? So this is a question. You just check whether you can answer this quiz. Okay. Okay, and